Hello, hello, hello. Hi, hi, hi. This is Miss Carr, and welcome to Learning Physics. So now we're going to study about waves. So in this lesson, we're going to study about the classifications, properties, and the behaviors of waves. Now to start with, let us get to know what is a wave. So wave is defined as a disturbance which travels through a medium or an empty space from one location to another. Now we have here the following examples of a wave. So on the first example, we have here the ripple. So if lantawon ta diri sa aton nga screen, so at first, ang aton nga water is still or is not moving until such time nga nagpulog na ang water droplet, and then there's a ripple that was created. And then sa kay Dora naman, kung nantamunta si Dora, we have there the light which is reflected into the mirror. So they are both waves. But later on, let us get to know kung di na sila nga duwa na classify. Okay? So here are the classifications of wave. So we have the mechanical and the electromagnetic wave. So when we say mechanical wave, it is a wave that requires medium in order for it to pass through. While the electromagnetic wave, it does not need medium. So meaning, even sa vacuum or sa empty space, maka-pass through gihapon ang electromagnetic wave. So here are the following types of mechanical wave. So we have the transverse and the longitudinal wave. So an example of a transverse wave is the water waves, and sa kay longitudinal naman niya are the sound waves. While in the electromagnetic waves, we have here the radio wave, microwave, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet rays, X-ray, and gamma ray. So, nabilong ni sila sa electromagnetic waves. So, meaning these 7 waves can pass through one location to another without requiring a medium. Okay? But now, we're going to focus lang danay kay mechanical wave. Okay? So, for the mechanical wave, let us get to know first what is a transverse wave. So a transverse wave is a wave that is perpendicular from where it is propagated. So meaning if this is, by the way, I have here the picture above. There. Now if this is your string, okay, so ang aton dira nga string is before na siya naton gin-move, may na di siya sang kumbaga iya nga reference line or iya nga equilibrium. Okay? Now, the moment na ginpa-move mo ang aton nga string, take note, if nagapahigda ang iya nga equilibrium, ang iya nga wave nga gin-create is perpendicular to its propagation. So, once perpendicular ganit, take note, that is a transverse wave. And a good example of that is, again, the water waves. Okay. Now, I have here an illustration of a transverse wave. Okay, so muna siyang itsura o sa transverse wave. So, para dasig nyo bala class matandaan kung sinuna si transverse wave, ay maaari ko di bala gingamit ng mga terms para nga matandaan nyo si transverse. And I hope nga magamit nyo gini sila. Okay, so I have here the 4 words. We have the transverse, transgender, gatiko, perpendicular. So, paano ta na sila nga apat ma-relate to each other man? Ano na ang purpose nila nga apat? Ba? ano ang purpose nila nga apat para matandaan ko si transverse wave. So, with the word, with the term balang at trans from the word transverse, sorry na, kulang din si Miss Galieso. Okay, with the word trans, coming from the word transverse, diba? I know that you are all familiar with that term or with the word transgender, diba? So, ginkuha na siya ni Miss, kimbutan ni Miss sa transgender. So, ano na gani yung mga transgender? Diba? Kung boy ka gid or girl, you are a straight guy or straight girl. So, kung transgender ka, ano ka gani? Gatiko ka, gatiko. Diba? Gatiko ka eh. Now, since gatiko ka, if you're going to take a look on your hand, you are creating here 90 degrees. So, meaning, since you are creating here 90 degrees, therefore, it is perpendicular. Okay? Kaya tungod perpendicular sa, meaning, transverse wave na siya gali. So, meaning, ay, hala, gatiko to siya. O, alang transgender. O, gatiko siya. Oh, okay. Transverse wave na siya gali. Okay, so that's it. Gatiko at transverse, transgender, gatiko, perpendicular, creating 90 degrees. Okay, so that's it. Now, in a transverse wave, we have here the crest and the trough. Of course, the crest is the highest position or the highest point of the wave from its undisturbed position. Okay? So, this is the crest. This is the undisturbed position. Undisturbed position. Now, the crest is at the highest point. Crest na siya. Above. That is above the undisturbed position. Now, what is this trough? The trough naman niya is below the undisturbed position. So, meaning, siya man ang maximum point. But then, it is located below the undisturbed position. Okay? So, sa babaw, si crest, sa dalong si trough. Miss, paano ko na siya, miss, matandaan? Miss, kung ka sala, kung blakis aga ka confused ko sa ilang nga duwa. Kung si diin si crest, diin si trough, tanda ilang kung sino ara sa babaw, di ba? Ano gani una sa alphabet? Letter C. So, kay tungod letter C ang una sa alphabet, meaning si crest, ara siya sa babaw. Crest, ara sa babaw. Si trough yan, naulihin na na. Kumbaga, ano gani ang first letter ni trough? Letter T. So, nauna si C, naulihi si T. So, meaning si T, ara siya sa dalom. So, si trough, ara siya sa below the undisturbed position. So, C sa babaw, T sa dalom. Crest, crest, and trough. Okay? So, muna siyang tandaan. Okay, next. Let us get to know what is a longitudinal wave. So, kung kagina si transverse wave is perpendicular to its undisturbed position. Now, we have here the longitudinal wave that is parallel from its undisturbed position or it is parallel from where it is propagated. Parallel naman siya, yeah. Okay? So, a very good example of a longitudinal wave is, of course, the sound waves. Okay. So, slinky wave is a good visualization of solid. Okay, so we have here the slinky wave. There. Na kung kagina, may mga terms kita kay transverse. Now, let us have here the terms for the longitudinal wave. So, hindi man paulihi si longitudinal wave. So, we have here the following terms. Longitudinal. Laba. Gatiko. Parallel. Diba? From the word longitudinal, makuha kita da sang word nga long. Long. Ano gani? Ano siya gani? Long. Ano siya? Long. Long. Meaning, ano gani sa Ilonggo ang long? Laba. Laba. Diba? Laba siya. Okay. And then, kay tungod long siya kaglaba, kulang tawon ni Miss ang iya nga kamot, la siya gatiko. Diba? La siya gatiko. Kay tungod la siya gatiko, kung lang tawon nato ng hands ni Miss, it is parallel to each other. Okay? So, long, laba, la gatiko, parallel. So, my hands are parallel to each other. So, amo man na siya si longitudinal wave. O paminsan na long, laba, lagatiko, puro L. Okay? So, parallel. Okay, so amo na siyang tandaan. Si parallel, may tatlo man ka L. Okay. So, kung kagina si transverse, we have the transverse, transgender, gatiko, perpendicular. When it comes to longitudinal naman, longitudinal, laba, gatiko, parallel. So, amo nang tandaan sa ilang nga duha. Okay, but then in the longitudinal wave, we have here the compression and refraction. So, what is this compression? So, compression is a part of a wave where the particles of a medium is close to each other. So, kung diin na di bala ang part na nagadikit-dikit ang aton nga spring, kung lang tawon ta diri, compression na siyang tawag. Kumbaga, nag-compress sila. While in the refraction, kung diin ang stretched part, amo na siya si refraction. So, please take note of that. Okay. So, that's for our types of mechanical waves. So, let us get to know here what are the different properties of wave. So, first, let us have here the amplitude. So, what is this amplitude? So, this is the maximum displacement. The maximum displacement sa ano, miss? Okay. So, mag-measure kita guys sa amplitude of the wave. It is from the undisturbed position, the distance from the undisturbed position, up to the peak of the wave. Or kung ari di sa babaw, ari sa undisturbed, pakadto sa crest. Kung ari naman sa dalumta malantaw, halin sa undisturbed, pakadto sa trough. Amo na siya ang gina-measure natin when it comes to amplitude. It's maximum displacement, whether it is above the undisturbed position or below the undisturbed position. Amplitude. Okay. So next, we have here the wavelength. So for the wavelength, it is the distance from the crest going to other crest, that's one wavelength. The trough going to other trough, that's one wavelength. And we have here the starting point of a wave up to the next starting point of another wave. So, isa ni sila ka wavelength. What if yung miss kung one wavelength na pila na siya miss ang halin sa crest pakadto sa trough? Si 1/2 lang siya Okay, 1/2 lang siya kay alin di siya. Alin diri nugnaog lang di siya. But then if halin sa crest going to other crest, that's one wavelength. Okay, so i-take note kid. Next, we have here the frequency. So frequency answers the question, how many waves are made per second? Or cycles per second. Okay. Now, pila ayhan ka bilog nga wave? Na siya, pila ayhan ka curve. Ang amo na. Ang may ara sa isa ka second. So, amo na siya si frequency. So, we have there our equation. F is equal to number of cycles divided by the total time. Okay? Number of cycles divided by the total time. So that's for the equation of our frequency. Also, we can have, for our frequency equation, we can also have F is equal to 1 over the period. Because frequency is the reciprocal of our period. But then, take note gid nga, when we say gani frequency, ginasuma tada or ginaisip tada kung pila kabilog ang curve or pila kabilog ang wave ang ara sa isa lang ka segundo. Okay? In only 1 second. So that's for the frequency. Now, how about the period? Okay. So for the period, this is the distance traveled by a given point on the wave in a given interval of time. Okay. Now, sa period naman niya, ano kalawig or ano kadugayon or how much time will it take for the one cycle of wave to be completed? Okay. So meaning, ano kalawig ayhan para sa wave makomplito ang isa ka whole ni nga cycle song wave. Ano na siya, yung kadugay. Ang isabla ka mo na ho. Ano na siya kalawig? Ano ni siya kalawig ayhan kung makomplito? Is it 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds? Amo na siya ang aton nga period. Whereas in the frequency, pila kabilog ka wave ang makomplito in 1 second. Okay, so let me explain to you it further. Para maintindihan naton, erase ni Miss. Sa amo ni siyang tandaan naton. Magamal ka gani period. Pila ayhan ka segundo para makomplito ko ang isa ka wave. Period na siya. Okay. So, let's say this is 2 seconds. 2 seconds. That's for the period. Now, for the frequency. 1, 2. For the frequency, pila ayan kabilog nga wave ang makumpleto in 1 second. So, isipon ta. Isipon ni Miss ha. From here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, meaning, may 4 ka waves per second. Or also, we can say that this is 4 hertz. Ayan. So, ariya, pila ka korba. Sulito ni Miss Haka para maintindihan natin tanan. Okay. So, sa kay frequency, pila ka bilog nga wave. Ang ara in 1 second. Ang kay period naman niya, ano kalawigon? Makomplito ang isa ka wave. So, I hope that it's clear. And by the way, for the equation of the period, we have the T, big letter T, is equal to 1 over F. So, because as what I've said, frequency is the reciprocal of period. Okay, so these are the different properties of the wave. And next, let us have here the velocity of the wave. Oops. So, how? Okay. By the way, neglect lang na siya. Okay. So, for the velocity of a wave, this is the distance traveled by a given point on the wave in a given interval of time. Now, this is also distance over time. Pero, ano na siya nga distance ang ginakuha naton? Kapag ka-wave gani ang aton nga gina-measure, Ang distance traveled niya na is the wavelength. And wavelength is represented by the Greek letter lambda. Lambda. Okay? So, muna siyang iyang representation si lambda. And then, we have here the interval of time. So, this is the period. The interval of time. Meaning, ano ayhan kalayo ang distance can travel sang wave sa makumplito niya ang whole nga cycle. So, ari siya ang ato nga interval of time or the period. And this is for our equation. We have V is equal to lambda over the period. Or we can have V is equal to frequency times the lambda. Okay. So, tandaan ni ang duwa ka equations. And also, we have here the illustration. This is for the wavelength, the amplitude, and of course, for the propagation of the wave. So, assuming ang aton nga wave is going to the right. Okay. So, there it is. So, for us to, of course, understand on how to use our equation, let us try to have here our simple experiment. So, Stan and Anna are conducting a slinky experiment. They are studying the possible effect of several variables upon the speed of a wave in a slinky. So, their data below is shown. Here is the data. Fill in the blanks in the table. Analyze the data and answer the following questions. So, amo ni siya ang aton nga data. So, ang iyan nga medium is the zinc and this is for the wavelength and frequency. Ari zinc man siya, same sila material. So, this is for the wavelength and the frequency. And we have here the copper for the third one. So, we have here the frequency and the wavelength rather and the frequency. So, pang sumahon, tana sila tanan isa-isa. Okay? So, since frequency and wavelength ang aton nga given in order for us to get the speed, we're going to use our equation. V is equal to frequency times lambda. Okay, so muna siya ito nga gamiton. Okay, and by the way, let me just escape this one so that we can calculate. So here it is. Okay, so let us try to solve for the values by using our equation. V is equal to frequency times lambda or the wavelength. So, i-multiply ta lang si frequency and si wavelength. So, for the first one, let us multiply 1.75 times 2. And that's equal to 3.5. Now, for the first one, we have here the 3.5. Okay, so times na sila nga duwa. Okay, 3.5. For the second one, we have there 0.90 times 3.9. And that's equal to 3.51. So 3.5 and then 3.51. Please write your answers on your papers. Please take down. Okay, take down the answers. And then for the last one, we have there 1.19 times 2.1, and that's equal to 2.499, or we can say it's 2.5. 2.5 siya. Okay, ang speed. So, what does it mean? So, based on their, of course, based on their experiment, copper has the least speed or is the slowest among the three of them. Okay, so ang kay copper, yung wave, yung may pinakahinay nga dalagan. Okay, so that's it. So I hope that you are copying there the answers. Okay, so there. Now let us try to move on to our next slide. Okay, now what are the following things that the waves can do? So ano na sila ay han? Okay, now let us get to know the different behaviors of waves. So we have there the reflection of wave. So when we say reflection of wave, it is the bouncing back of waves. So there is a change in the direction depending on its surface. So for the smooth surface, of course, the angle nga pagtupa niya or the angle of incidence is equal to its angle of deflection. However, if rough surface naman niya, there is a certain angle if rough surface siya. So it is not the same with the angle of incidence. So again, nakadepende siya sa surface. But then when we say reflection of waves, it is the bouncing of waves. Bouncing back. Next, for the refraction, this is the bending of waves. So there is a change in direction man whenever that the wave will enter a different medium. So let's say this is the air and this is the water. So once the wave will enter a different medium, it will change its angle and even its velocity. Okay, so there. And next, we have the diffraction of waves. So when we say diffraction of waves, this is the spreading of waves. So the smaller the slit, the narrow the waves. The larger the slit, the wider the waves. Don't worry because I'm going to show you kung paano na siya mag-change or mag-wide or mag-narrow ang waves naton as we have the wave interference simulations. Ipakita na siya tananinis. Okay, so don't worry. Okay, so this is for the diffraction of waves. When you say spreading of waves, that is the diffraction of wave, meaning galapta siya. Okay. Next, we have the interference. Interference of waves. Just for a while. Okay, medyo nalobak sinas. Okay, so we have the interference of waves. So this is the overlapping of waves. Okay, if you're going to take a look here, we have two slits. May duwa siya ka slits. So what happened here is that we have the diffraction of waves. So the moment that the waves will diffract, unfortunately, dalapitay ang duwa ka waves. So sometimes ka-scatter sila, ka-scatter. So sa pagkit-anay nila, nagtabuay sila nga duwa. That's why they overlap with each other. So that is called interference. Okay. And interference of wave is the phenomena of the superposition of wave. So later on, I'm going to discuss also what is a superposition. Okay? But then, okay. So here it is. So now what is this superposition of wave? So si superposition of wave, it is when two or more waves are passing through each other. And then we are going to add the displacement algebraically. Okay. Okay. Now, if you're going to take a look here on our illustration, so we have the red and the blue waves. Okay. So, paano ni sila nag-superposition? So, si wave nga red, nag-overlap siya kay, or nag-pass through siya kay blue wave. So, meaning, si red kapakadto diri sa piyak, going to the left, and then, going to the left si red, and then going to the right naman si blue. Okay. Now, since nag-pass through sila to each other, whenever that the crests of the both waves will connect or will pass through, so meaning mataas na sila ang ilang wave. Amo na siya kung i-add na sila nga duwa, here, nan ko lang tawon ariho, na nagataas siya, kay amo na siya ang time nga nagsampawanay na sila ang duwa ka wave. Okay? And then, if for example, ang isa ka wave naman gigapadalaw, ang may trough kag ang may crest, magtabo ay, so amo naman ni siya diri sa aton nga node. So don't worry, pang-explain ni sila ni Miss Tanan as we have our simulation because it's better nga magamit kita simulation para mas maintindihan ni pa. Okay, so there. And if you're going to take a look here, by the way, on our illustration, we have here the ang black ni bilang wave out. It is now considered to be the standing wave. Nga nag-standing wave na siya. Okay, so when we say standing wave, there is a system vibration in which some specific points remain fixed, while ang others kuno nag-vibrate between the maximum amplitude. Okay, so it is considered to be the standing wave. It's because, ano to ganihan balya? May fixed sa kuno nga points. So, ang mga pula nga ini, amo ni sila ang mga fixed point. Meaning, kung ano na siya ang movement ng wave ta, kung mag-combine na sila ang duwa ka wave, ang fixed point niya, dira lang ginada siya. Yeah. Now, ang tawag na sa iyang fixed point is the node. Ano na tawag gani sa iya? Node. Okay, so this is the node. So, node na siya. Okay. Now, how about ang aton nga, ang sa maximum ni balaw, ang sa maximum nga, ang sa mga di ba sa tunga, ang sa iya nga maximum nga mga amplitude. Ang tawag na iya sa ila is antinode. So, sila ni antinode, amo na sila ang mga maximum amplitude sang aton nga standing waves. While the node is the fixed point of the standing wave. So, si node ni siya, wala ni siya value. Kaya nga, ako lang tawon ta siya, ara lang gid siya sa iya nga fixed point. Or ara lang gid siya nga nakatungtong sa may equilibrium. Okay. So, that's it for our waves. So, for the sound waves, we're going to study it on our next video. And I hope that you understand lang kung ano na siya ang ating naging discuss kagina about the waves. Most especially its classification, properties, and behaviors. And by the way, don't worry because sa behaviors, ma-focus kita dira as we use our simulation. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.